This is ChunkYanille. Since starting my journey in Yanille, I've spent over 3,000 hours exploring RuneScape one chunk at a time. That means completing every possible task in an area before moving on to the next, no matter what it takes. Hello and welcome. You know, I start off a lot of my episodes just chilling in Yanille, talking about what we're about to get into. It really is like my home base. But today, it just hits different. I am finally truly free. The death chunk is behind us. I'm on the other side of a multi-month, 1,000+ hour-long grind to complete all the tasks in the last chunk I unlocked, Tavern. That was in December of last year, and it's almost October currently, and I finally get to roll, aka randomly unlock another new chunk. New chunks hold so much possibility. Things that were once brick walls for my account could change in an instant, or I could be immediately tossed back into another insane grind. Really, anything could happen. But it's been so long since I've actually done a chunk roll that I think a little recap is in order on how this works and what's even possible to unlock at the moment. Most of you watching know that this is the Chunk Picker. It's a third-party tool that we chunk men use to keep track of our map of unlocked areas, our current tasks, and when the time comes, to do the random selection of the next chunk. Now, normally you only roll chunks that are adjacent to your currently unlocked area, but back in the day, I decided that it would be fun to allow rolling the chunks access through the portals in the Wizards Guild, which are here, here, and here, hence the handful of disconnected sections of my map. Having so many distinct areas means that there are a lot of possibilities for what chunk I could roll next. Currently, there are 23 rollable chunks, all equally likely to be picked. I'd love to bring you up to speed on what's on the menu here, but rather than going through each of them individually, which would take forever, I've come up with a system to make them a bit more understandable. But first, I actually still need to do my morning routine, so come with me to my kitchen real quick. I'm not a morning person at all, so getting the day started has always been hard for me. I found that the best thing I can do for myself is to create simple habits that require as little effort as possible to help me wake up and feel ready for the day, which is why I use AG1, this video's sponsor. AG1 is a daily health drink that's clinically shown to support gut health and fill common nutrient gaps. And with the recent upgrade to the next-gen formula, it's got even more of the good stuff. Even more vitamins, minerals, and probiotics to help support full body health, all just by adding 1 scoop of it to a bottle of water every day. I've been an AG1 fan for a long time. Ever since they started sponsoring the channel last year, it's been a part of my morning routine, so I was excited when I heard they were coming out with 3 new flavors: berry, tropical, and citrus. The citrus reminds me of when I would mix AG1 with juice instead of water. The tropical is a bit more of the classic pineapple flavor that AG1 has already had, just amped up, but I think berry is my new favorite. The sweetness just really hits for me. There's a lot to like about AG1, and they hold their product to a super high standard with multiple clinical trials that I highly encourage you to check out if you want to know more about the science. And then once you're ready to try it out, you can use my link or scan the QR code to get a free welcome kit that comes with a bottle of vitamin D and free travel packs when you first subscribe. So thanks to AG1 for the sponsor and for making my mornings easier, and now let's talk chunks. Like I was saying, I've come up with a system to make it a little bit easier to understand what's going on in the chunk picker. My goal is to help communicate what I do and don't want from a roll. In the past, I used to say which chunks were good and which were bad, but that's not always a clean distinction. Sometimes a chunk is good in some ways, but bad in other ways. So instead, I'm trying something a little experimental. I've broken the chunks down into 3 categories: high value, long, and nothing. Nothing chunks are what they sound like. There's nothing of note here, maybe a few super quick tasks at most. At the moment, there are 11 chunks that fall into this category. Rolling any of these will mean I get to almost immediately unlock another chunk, but every unlock changes what's available on the map, so even a nothing roll could have a big impact down the line. Long chunks are also self-explanatory. This is what I used to call a bad chunk, even a death chunk at times, but after getting through Catherby Dungeon, nothing scares me that much. Right now, there are 8 chunks that have long grinds, although some much longer or more annoying than others. One stands out as the most massive one though, North Catherby. That chunk unlocks the entire Herblore skill, a notoriously hard skill even for regular Iron Men, and triggers a truly arduous grind to level 90. Now before I go on to explain the last category, the potential to unlock Herblore reminds me of something I said a long time ago. Right after leaving my starting chunk of Yanille, I outlined my goals for the series. I'm just gonna play you this clip.
ChunkYanille has escaped Yanille. So what's next? What do I hope to complete on this account? I'd love to complete the Watchtower quest. Second, I'd love to roll a chunk using the portals in the Wizard's Guild. Last, I want to unlock the Herblore skill. I would be the first Extreme 1 chunk Iron Man to legitimately unlock the skill, and I really want to be the first.
For a long time now, unlocking Herblore has been one of the 3 main big picture goals for the series. So does that make it a good chunk, or is it a bad chunk? It's definitely long, but it's also the final category, high value. High value chunks provide something substantially useful to the account. Herblore, for example, unlocks potions that are extremely powerful and would help many future grinds. Another thing I've had my eye on for forever is finally achieving the magic shortbow, the weapon I was dreaming of for so long during the death chunk grind, and an iconic upgrade for any account. There are currently 2 high value chunks with a spinning wheel that unlock the magic shortbow for me. Last, any chunk with a bank is automatically high value. I still barely have any banks in any of my chunks. It's also worth noting that a chunk can be both long and high value. For example, Sears Village would have some incredible unlocks, but it would also require that I complete the entire forestry collection log, which could take forever. So 11 chunks are nothing, 8 are long, and 9 are high value. Every time we roll a chunk, we can use these numbers to see the odds of what we might roll. Currently, it's a 48% chance to roll nothing, 35% chance to hit a long grind, and 40% chance to unlock a bank or some useful items. So now that you're up to speed, let's jump into the chunk roll. Boy. Oh man, I've just been sitting here staring at the chunk map without even recording anything for the past couple minutes, just kind of looking over everything. It has been so long since I was last in this thing. I am reminded that there are actually a ton of really scary chunks still on the table. None of them nearly as bad as what I just went through, but it's definitely not just gonna be a free roll by any means, which I kind of thought it would be, but it's not. It's just so not. And there's really only one thing to do. We have to pick a chunk. This is the first moment that my account is about to change in a permanent way in so long. This is gonna feel crazy. This is gonna be absolutely absurd. Let's get something exciting. Let's get something fun. Let's make this happen. Pick chunk. Oh, I'm so nervous. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, go. Falador North Gate. Okay, yep, that's totally fine. That's basically a nothing chunk. Pretty much entirely chill. 2 very easy little tasks. Honestly, just really glad that it's not something completely insane. That makes me feel good. We hit the 48% chance to roll basically nothing. This new chunk has 2 very quick tasks. Complete Doric's quest, which any seasoned RuneScape player knows is one of the shortest quests in the game, and a diary task to pickpocket a Falador guard, which I already have the thieving level to do. Once those are done, we get to roll another chunk. Alright, well, let's go explore our new chunk. Pretty chill little chunk. Let's do it. I grabbed out just the items I need to do the quest, basically just some low-level ores and clay, which I already had in my bank. To get here, we still need to go through this Dark Wizard's Tower portal. Feels a lot like we're running back to the Catherby dungeon, but thankfully this time we're actually not. We are going the other direction for the first time in, I think, basically ever. I haven't had to run over here for anything, and the new chunk has been unlocked. Let's go, baby. Look at all of that space. Amazing. 2 new music tracks. I actually didn't mess it up for once. Didn't step into the chunk in the past and already unlocked those music tracks. Believe I start this quest by asking him to use his anvils, which serve no actual use to me as a 1 chunk man, but that's what the quest is about. And I give him the stuff. Very strange animation there. Doric's quest is complete. 1 quest point. Let's go, baby. Always feels good to have another quest done, and that is a chunk task complete. And beyond that, there's not really a whole lot else in this chunk. We got access to this little shortcut that takes us across this wall. Once again, not super useful, but hey, as a 1 chunk man, you take what you can get, all right? You take what you can get. And we are now approaching the city of Falador from a different angle. And we can do this. We can pickpocket a guard, and that is a task complete, I think. Pickpocket a Falador guard. Is that not? Oh, maybe it's this one? That was weird. This guy did not count, but this one did. All right, well, that is a chunk task complete. But that's pretty much it. I think we're good here. We can scout the edges of this chunk, but I don't think there's a whole lot we're gonna find in here. It's not a particularly content-dense chunk. That's more my favorite NPCs in the game, dwarves. But yeah, that's it. We are done. Let's head back to the chunk picker and roll another chunk. But first, with new chunks comes new fun facts. Let's talk about some fun Doric facts. To be clear, Doric is this guy, the dwarf with the anvils. While most players don't interact with him much outside of getting a little early mining XP from his quest, there's actually kind of a lot to say about him. Doric and his whole area was added to the game way back during my favorite historical time period, the early days of RuneScape Classic. These days, the reward for his quest, not the XP, but the ability to use his anvils, seems completely random and irrelevant. Who would use these anvils in the middle of nowhere? But back when he was added to RuneScape in April of 2001, it was a very different game. At the time, banks in RuneScape worked less like the black hole storage system that we have now, and more like banks in real life, a place to keep your money. Prior to an update, you could only store coins at banks, not items, so unlocking Doric's anvil was actually kind of a big deal. It was a relatively short distance from the Falador furnace compared to other anvils in the game. It's stuff like this that you just never know looking at the game in its current state. This type of history really fascinates me. There's one other thing about Doric's quest that's worth mentioning. It's a bit of an outlier in RuneScape's roster of quests. Most quests have you running around, talking to NPCs, and playing through some sort of story, but this guy just asks for some basic materials gathered through a skill. Doing some research, I found what may be the reason why. This quest wasn't made by the Gower brothers, RuneScape's original creators, but rather by Rob Law, who may be more well known as Rab, RuneScape's first ever player. While he started out as just a player, it turns out Rab became a player moderator and even wrote a few quests, some of which are super iconic. Romeo and Juliet, Prince Ali Rescue, and apparently Doric's quest. It really makes sense when you look at how community-oriented RuneScape is that it's had a long history of player involvement dating back to the very beginning. And one final tidbit, did you know that Doric actually gives you a pickaxe for free when you start the quest? Not sure who this matters to, but maybe it's important for your extremely specific restricted account, so do with that information what you will. Okay, back in the chunk picker, let's take a look at how that chunk changed the map. Even though it was a nothing chunk, unlocking it means I can now roll more areas. These two chunks in specific. The north one is Goblin Village, very much a nothing chunk, but it does lead straight into the wilderness, and this east one, which contains this little strip of road and the entrance to the Dwarven Mines. Because of the mines, this chunk should have a lot of tasks, but I can't actually reach the area with the entrance. That's one of the weird things about chunks. Sometimes you have an area unlocked, but not 100% of it because of the landscape, meaning those tasks are basically just waiting to be activated by another roll in the future. But as it currently stands, that chunk is another nothing roll. With 24 rollable chunks, the new probabilities are 50% chance to get a nothing chunk, 33% chance to get a long chunk, and 37% chance to get a high value chunk. And I think it's worth pointing out that any unlock that opens up more than one new adjacent chunk will change all the numbers here. With that said, let's jump into the roll. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, go. Something good. Okay, Catherby. Interesting. The new chunk is Catherby. Sort of. This is a nothing chunk. Despite all these interesting looking icons, there's no new tasks here at all. And, well, let me just show you why. Let's go see what we have unlocked. Very interesting that both of these are connected to Taverly. Guess I'm kind of getting rewarded for having completed this chunk. I get to unlock the surrounding areas. And yeah, all right, here goes. Let's unlock the chunk. Here goes nothing. Chunk unlocked. Look at that. Brand new area for me to run around in, and that's basically it. Not really do much else. I can see the areas down there, but I can't actually get to them. Just kind of stuck here, unfortunately. But man, I would like that fruit tree patch. That would be nice. Some fishing spots. I have access to this little patch of White Wolf Mountain, but can't go much further. I don't think I can even get to this little area over here. Oh, don't run, don't do it. Not exactly a whole lot that I can do here. Although, now that I think about it, there is one area that I can access. I'm gonna go run there real quick. Look where I find myself running once again and getting poisoned, of course. This is all too familiar. There is something that I have not done this whole time that I was here, and that is go up this ladder because it was gonna leave me out of my chunk. But now I can. Look at me. I'm here on the obelisk shore, this little obelisk of water area. It's in my new chunk, but yeah, that's about it. That's all I can really do here is come up and down this ladder. Not particularly useful, and I think we are going to try to get out of here after I get poisoned for this next tick. While we wait for this poison to hit, now would be a great time to double check if you're subscribed. A lot of people who watch my videos don't even realize they're not subscribed, but it's a great way to show your support for the channel and get notified whenever I post a video. Or if you want to help out the channel even more, you can become a YouTube channel member or support on Patreon and get your name in the video credits. Links in the description. So yeah, Catherby as an area does actually have some possible tasks. The fishing spots and various shops have actual content in them, but because they're separated from my unlocked areas by terrain, I can't get there. There are even some agility shortcut options to get there, but unfortunately I don't have the necessary tools to make that happen either. So back into the chunk picker we go. Unlocking Catherby enabled just one new chunk, more of White Wolf Mountain. On its own, it's not potentially content heavy, but if I were to unlock it, I would actually be able to walk around to Catherby and do all those tasks that have been locked behind my terrain issue. Because of that, this chunk gets put in the long category, as it triggers a somewhat long grind, but nothing here is particularly high value for me, at least not at the moment. So 24 rollable chunks, 45% chance for nothing, 37% chance for long, and 37% chance for high value. Let's see that roll. Gotten a little bit lucky with 2-0 rolls so far. Just expanding the map. Let's see what we get this time. Surely there are going to be some tasks soon. 3, 2, 1. Pick chunk. Okay. I think this feels like rigged. Is this like rigged or something? These chunks are all connected. What? That's crazy, actually. We're just continuing this stretch here. That is bizarre. The new chunk is the one we were just talking about, that bit of road south of the Dwarven Mine entrance. It's another nothing chunk, no new tasks here, but just like Catherby, the second I unlock an area that allows access to the mines, it's gonna unleash a massive slew of tasks. In fact, before we go any further, we should probably talk real quick, as I'm getting a bit concerned. We need to discuss crafting. Crafting is, and has always been, my problem child of a skill. Here I am, 25 chunks deep, and I have a few ways to train crafting, but none of them are even remotely reasonable. The Dwarven Mine, if I were to find a way to actually get in there, would trigger an 89 crafting grind, which, to be honest, I have no idea how I would deal with. I've even been putting my spare XP lamps into crafting for months just in case I did roll a bad crafting grind, but that's definitely not gonna save me. So as I keep rolling, I'm gonna be praying that I find a crafting solution before I run into a crafting problem. Anyway, we still actually have to go see the new chunk, so let's do that. All right, here we are, the edge of the new chunk. Let's unlock this thing. Chunk unlocked. Look at that, man. Feels nice to be expanding the map. Feels like a good reward for all of the hard work we put in so far. Let's take a look. One thing that's occurring to me right now as I walk around in here is that one benefit of unlocking these chunks, even though they don't have any tasks or real unlocks, is that they actually have a bunch of clue steps. So if I ever want to do more clue juggling, easy clues and beginner clues, there's a good number of steps in this chunk and this chunk. So that's definitely a small benefit. I also have my first ever rune crafting altar. That's actually pretty sweet. I'm pretty sure I can actually get in here because I have the body talisman and this is the body altar. That's cool. And here we see the issue of why we can't actually go into the Dwarven Mines. There's this big hill here. Same issue as Catherby. I can't actually go in there until I can go through this way. All these mountains, man, it's such a mountainous area. And they've got all these weird, like, height obstacles that I can't go by. Once again, another look at Falador from another angle. We still aren't in the city itself. Although, ooh, is that a new, oh, okay, wait, this might be cool. Is this a new NPC? Barbarians? I don't think I've ever gotten to fight a Barbarian before. I think they might have some interesting drops. But yeah, we're right here on the very edge of Barbarian Village, which is pretty sick. This would be a cool place to unlock. There's a lot of useful things in there for sure. We can also see the town of Edgeville all the way over there. Just a couple of chunk rolls away, that's a place with a lot of tasks as well. But yeah, that is the chunk unlocked. No tasks, but we are definitely setting ourselves up for some pretty crazy rolls coming up here. After that roll, the map has changed pretty significantly. We've added 3 new chunks, one of each category. Like I was just showing, this northern chunk creates a walkable path to the mine entrance, triggering that crazy crafting grind among many other tasks. The south chunk is a nothing chunk since I actually can't even get to 90% of it, another pathing issue with the walls of Falador. But we've also added our first high value chunk so far, Barbarian Village. This place has a ton of excellent unlocks, but the first and most obvious thing is the spinning wheel. Remember, that means I could finally string a magic shortbow and have the weapon I've been longing for ever since Catherby. There's also one other really important chunk that I just realized I haven't mentioned yet. This area in the Feldip Hills. It's a very innocuous seeming chunk. It doesn't contain much content on its own at all, but it's actually the one Jenga block at the bottom of the tower holding everything up. And in this case, everything means progress in one of my ultimate goals on this account. The one task I started in Yanille that's been left unfinished for so long, the Watchtower quest. Completing this quest has been on my bucket list ever since leaving my starting chunk, and if I'm gonna do that, I need this one chunk. Unlocking it would allow me to access this island, which would then let me access this whole city, which would then let me access all the areas I need to complete Watchtower quest. So that's a long way of explaining why this chunk is one of my top tier high value rolls. But at the same time, through an equally convoluted series of events, it would also unlock another agonizing crafting grind, setting the required level to 84 without actually opening up any new useful training methods at all. So it's one of the chunks that sits perfectly on the line between long and high value and ends up in both categories. Anyway, now that this Watchtower quest chunk is on your radar, here are the new stats. Of our 26 rollable chunks, there's a 42% chance for nothing, 38% chance for a long grind, and a 38% chance for a high value unlock. Let's dive in. Chunk roll number 4. It's been a long time since I rolled 4 chunks in a row. Such a long time. Let's get something big. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Pick chunk. Let's see what it is. McGrubor's wood. Dude, they're just giving me all of the nothing chunks. I'm just like expanding all of these areas. That's actually so funny. There's nothing there though. Like you just heard, no new tasks in this area, but before we explore, like I just said, I do keep expanding all these unconnected areas. There are now 5 chunks around Catherby and 6 near the Sorcerer's Tower. And as I unlock more space around these disconnected areas, the odds of landing on a big grind in either of them increases. But I'm starting to identify a growing problem. You know what hasn't been increasing? The 2 things that could make a big grind feasible: banks and teleports. I just went back and checked, and the last time I unlocked a new bank was on chunk roll number 8, the fishing trawler. That was 17 chunks ago. I have somehow managed to dodge every usable bank imaginable. And so that raises the question, if I did have to do a long grind in one of these isolated chunk conglomerates, literally anything that requires inventory space, what would I do? To answer that, we need to take a serious look at how I get around. I've mentioned this many times, but to get to these other areas, I use the portals in Yanille's Magic Guild. That means to get to any of these, I must start in Yanille. The portals are also one way, meaning if I want to get from one area, let's say Catherby, to another, for example, Sorcerer's Tower, I would need to start in Yanille, go through the portal to Catherby, then somehow get back to Yanille, and go through the other portal. The critical part here is the return, the issue of getting back to Yanille. This is the thing that has me so concerned. You see, the way I've always gotten back to Yanille, the thing I've used hundreds if not thousands of times, is the minigame teleport. This built-in function lets you teleport to a minigame of your choice for free, but it comes with a 20-minute cooldown. So to get back to Yanille, I can either teleport to Castle Wars or Fishing Trawler and run back, but only once every 20 minutes. I'm sure you can see why that would be an issue, but let's just do a hypothetical situation to fully illustrate it. In this imaginary scenario, let's say I need to smelt some ore. This is all made up, so let's say I can mine ore in this group of chunks, but I can only smelt it here. How would I go about doing this? Currently, the answer is teleport to a minigame, run to Yanille, go through the portal to the mine some ore, then wait 20 minutes for the cooldown, teleport back, go through the other portal to the other chunks, smelt the ore, wait another 20 minutes for the cooldown, and repeat. In total, a singular inventory would take over 40 minutes to process. This could be a major problem, and the solution would be to unlock some chunks that I can teleport to more often than once every 20 minutes. So as I continue adding to my area, these chunks with a teleport just keep getting that much more valuable. I'll be keeping my fingers crossed for them as we head into the next chunk roll, but first we still need to check out the chunk we just got. Alright, this time we are going into the other portal, the Sorcerer's Tower portal, heading up to one of my most familiar places, the Ranging Guild, where I spent so much time getting 99 ranged. And it's time we enter the new chunk, McGrubor's Wood. I really don't think there's much in here, but let's get it unlocked. Chunk unlocked, expanding the map even further. So this chunk is pretty much just this big gated area that I can't walk into from the front, but I think I should be able to get into another way. Looks like I can get around here, and I can squeeze through this loose railing and get into this area here. Couple new items. There's dwell berries here on the ground. Don't think I could have gotten those before. And there's also this vine over here, which is used in a quest that we are actually getting dangerously close to having some use for. But if I want to dig this up, I would need a spade, and I don't really need to do that right now. What I get from it is not relevant until we have that quest, but I'll call this a micro unlock. Marginal progress in a handful of things that I don't actively need to do right now, but definitely could find some use for in the future. We're kind of stranded here now, but let's hop back in the chunk picker and hopefully get a chunk with some tasks. I mean, it's insane that we haven't gotten any tasks so far. Before the next roll, we have to run the numbers again. 2 chunks added means we've got 27 rollable chunks. The 2 new rollable areas are both certified nothing chunks, so here are the stats. 48% chance to roll nothing, 37% chance to roll a long grind, and 37% chance to roll a high value chunk. Let's see that roll. I'm honestly getting really scared. Something about rolling a bunch of free chunks just makes me feel like something terrible is gonna happen right as soon as I roll my first real chunk. Please not something terrible, please. Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Pick chunk. Just something reasonable. Some tasks, something reasonable. Come on. Barbarian Village. Okay, wait, that's actually so sick. And what's so crazy? Why do I keep why do I keep getting these same chunks in this one line? That's so bizarre. And look at that. Finally, we actually have some real tasks, including one that I'm so excited for. I'm so excited. The magic shortbow. We're finally gonna get the magic shortbow. Oh, yes. It's like the reward for the dragon grind. They're like, okay, you did everything without the short bow. No more tasks that require any kind of combat. You just get to have the magic short bow. And these are some relatively easy tasks, I believe. Chunk unlock number 5 of the video is Barbarian Village, a high value chunk. We hit the 37% chance to roll something with some huge unlocks for the account. At the same time, I just checked the math, and of the 11 possible high value rolls, 7 were also in the long category. Barbarian Village is not. It's one of the 4 amazing chunks that has great unlocks, but doesn't come with any major grinds. Basically, the perfect chunk. To roll one of these was actually only a 15% chance, so we just got really lucky. Before we dive in and explore, let's quickly go over the tasks. First, and most importantly, we get to obtain our new best in slot ranged weapon, the magic shortbow, all because Barbarian Village has a spinning wheel. Next, there are some diary tasks in the Varrock diary, which, can I just say how extremely unlikely it is that we've made it this close to Varrock? For the diary, we need to 1. Make a bowl in the pottery oven with level 8 crafting, which we have. Enter the 2nd level of the Stronghold of Security, which is a whole thing that we'll talk about more in a sec. I also need to perform the 4 emotes of the Stronghold and teleport to Barbarian Village with the Skull Scepter. And yes, that's right, this place unlocks a teleport item, but more on that in a bit. For the last few tasks, to actually make the Skull Scepter, we need 4 items that are each on the collection log, so that's 4 more tasks. And there's also one sort of weird untracked unique item, the Socks of Ruin, that we need to pick up. I know that's a lot, but it's gonna go by quick, so let's jump in. All right, I have geared up here for this trip. We are bringing a full range setup, minus, of course, the bow, because we are about to go get, something I'm so excited for, man. And I should probably grab out my dragon spear just in case I want to do some melee combat. I also got my adamant pickaxe, which I got from a medium clue. We're going to use this and these buckets of water to create some soft clay because I unlocked clay crafting by rolling the Barbarian village. But that's not all. In fact, the more I look into it, the more this chunk is such a mega game changer. I'm actually so excited to dive in here. I'm just going to bring a couple things to knock off some easy tasks off the bat. I decided that I'm also going to bring some food just in case things get a little bit hairy, as we will be doing some combat. So I just want to be careful. You never know when you're going into a new chunk what you might find there. And it feels so ridiculous and over the top that I have to get there by going to the Dark Wizard Tower portal. I mean, look where I come in here, and I have to run all the way over here to get to this new chunk. And this really just goes to show why new teleports are so important for this account. I'm literally out of run energy before I even get here. This is so goofy, dude. And here we are, right at the border of a brand new chunk that's going to do some really exciting stuff for this account. I'm actually so hyped. Here we go. Time to unlock the chunk. Chunk unlocked. Finally, something impactful, and we get a new music track, and we are here, man. Barbarian Village. This is so crazy, dude. But I know what the very first thing that I'm doing, the second I get here, there is something that I've been wanting to do for so long. This is such a long time in the making. We use the flax on the spinning wheel. Yes, this is such a good moment. You see what that is right there in my inventory. The item that I have been bemoaning to not have access to, the bowstring, when I use this on the magic short bow. Oh, yes. It's so good. Yes, it's so good. Finally, magic short bow, new best in slot item, an item I've been waiting for so long. I finally have it, and that is a chunk task complete, baby. Just seeing it, I don't even care how much better it is. It just how much this item means to me. We finally have it. We've got a special attack. Boom, baby. Oh, so sick. So sick, dude. And now we can walk around a little bit. Let's explore. Let's see what's here. I think the next thing I want to do, next easy chunk task to knock off, is up here in the pottery hut. We're going to use this soft clay right here to make a bowl. Okay. And we put the bowl in the oven. And that should be an easy task done, and that is another chunk task complete. Easy peasy. This is a very questionable crafting training method. Definitely don't want to be doing this for too long. Hope that that's not going to be a thing in my future. The rest of my chunk tasks are all down here in yet another crazy, massive dungeon. Thankfully, nothing nearly as bad as Catherby dungeon. But before we just jump down there, I just want to make sure there's nothing else I've missed in this chunk. There is still quite a lot of space, so I think I'm just gonna go poke around the edges, make sure I didn't miss anything.
To make a long story short, there's not really anything else I can interact with on the surface level of the village, at least not at the moment. We might revisit some of these things in the future, but right now, we need to focus on what's right in front of us. This little hole. This is the mark of any truly great chunk. It leads down into a massive underground area with tons more content, a place called the Stronghold of Security. But to tell you about it, let's do some fun Stronghold of Security facts. Boy, does that roll off the tongue. Let's go back in time. The year is 2006 and Runescape is insanely popular, having been propelled to huge success after partnering with Miniclip. You know, the website where you played like Heli Attack 2? Well, the same 10-year-olds that were playing Heli Attack 2 were also playing Runescape now. And what do 10-year-olds know best? I don't actually know, but it sure isn't internet safety and account security. Scamming, hacking, and malware were all huge issues for this new young player base, so Jagex decided to do something about it. Their solution? Make a giant dungeon with tons of amazing rewards that teaches you about account security. Anyone who played back in the day has been through here before and has experienced the extremely on-the-nose questions asked by the doors that you need to pass through to get to each new area. Gee, should I type my password in-game? I don't know. The Stronghold has 4 levels, each of which have a name that corresponds to one of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, which seems just a bit over the top for this content. And each floor also contains unique enemies not found anywhere else in the game, the levels of the monsters increasing with each floor. Those monsters drop the pieces of the Skull Scepter, 1 piece per floor, that we need to gather for our chunk tasks. 2 of the pieces are part of the scepter, and 2 are part of the skull. Although, here's an interesting fact. The 2 skull halves are dropped by these 2 monsters, but it seems like it was switched which goes with which. The Minotaur drops the little skull, and the Ankou drops the big skull. Not sure if this is a mistake or intentional, but it's kind of funny. We need to collect all 4 pieces, which means going through all 4 levels, and at the end of each level, there's a little reward. Some GP that maybe to a 10-year-old would have been quite motivating to educate themselves about account security. On top of the money, you also get an emote for completing each floor, which is another chunk task. And apparently, the flap emote that's unlocked here has a secret enhanced version that you only get if you're wearing a chicken outfit. Now, if that's not a fun fact, I don't know what is. Also, the rats in here drop bones. Other rats don't. Not sure if that matters, but felt like a fun fact. Anyway, now that you know what the Stronghold is, let's get in there and knock off some chunk tasks. Here we go. We are in the Stronghold of Security. Quite a wild place to be. We've got a bunch of goblins here that are a little bit higher level than normal. There's also some wolves over there, but right here we encounter our first actually interesting enemy, the Minotaur. Not particularly tough, they're level 12, only have 10 hit points, but these things have quite a few interesting drops. Let's see if we can see some of them. Really getting to enjoy the power of the dragon spear for the first time here. This is so good. Here is the first genuinely interesting drop, Pure Essence noted. This is a resource used for rune crafting, which is a skill I still have at level 1 because I didn't have access to literally any way to train it of any sort. And just unlocking this Pure Essence doesn't actually trigger any kind of rune crafting grind for me because it's basically impossible to start the skill. But it does mean for the future there could be some potentially interesting uses for that. I'm not sure how we'll get there, but there are some options. Okay, I gotta say, it's incredibly satisfying to just come in here and just smack these dudes down super quick like this. After everything I was killing taking like multiple minutes for so long, just coming in here and getting to smack these dudes down is incredibly satisfying. Also, I probably should have said this earlier, but of all the places that I was gonna get my magic short bow, that I was gonna get my bowstring and all of that, the last place I expected to be was Barbarian Village. It never even crossed my mind. Oh, there we go. I literally, where even is it? I can't find it. Ah, there we go, all the way over there. And that is a chunk task complete, a new collection log, the right skull half. That means we have 1/4 of our new item unlocked. And it means that we can move on to the next floor. We're at the end of this sort of maze of doors. We get our first little reward, the Gift of Peace. Get a little bit of money and I get the flap emote. Flap. Nice. I could go down, but before I do that, I think there's actually one other pretty simple, but also, I guess, kind of convoluted chunk task I have to complete here. I'm going to acquire the Socks of Ruin. And I'm gonna let VO Josh explain what this is because it's genuinely so confusing and convoluted. I'll keep this short. The Socks of Ruin are part of the Crack the Clue 3 event, which was an incredibly complex puzzle that took the entire community coming together to solve. The rewards are purely cosmetic, so these socks don't do much besides look cool, but to get them, I need to run around and perform a bunch of specific emotes in a bunch of specific locations in this part of the Stronghold. How someone figured this out, I have no idea, and I wouldn't have even known I could get these here if it weren't for the chunk picker. Also, mini fun fact, these are one of only 2 pairs of wearable socks in Runescape. This should be it. If it's not it, I don't know. Oh, okay. And that's it. We successfully acquired this untracked unique. It's not in the collection log. It is the Socks of Ruin. That took like 20 minutes. It took way too long. But it is done now. And that is a very bizarre chunk task complete. And now we can head down the ladder, and we are here in the second level of the Stronghold of Security, which in and of itself is another very basic chunk task complete. That's an easy task in the Varrock area. Second floor, whole bunch of new monsters down here. These level 44 zombies, I think might have some unique drops potentially. This giant rat, I'm guessing, doesn't.
But there is one incredibly important enemy down here, and that is these guys, the flesh crawlers. These things are important for so many reasons. Probably one of, if not the most impactful unlock in this entire area. What's probably the best part about them is that this is finally my very first way in the entire history of the account, the entire almost 3 years I've been playing, where I can just AFK train combat. These things will always attack you no matter what level you are, and they barely do any damage at all, especially with decent armor, which I have. And so my hand is off the mouse right now. I am just chilling. These guys are honestly a kind of iconic AFK training method, but beyond that, they have a couple of really useful drops, including that right there, the bottom of scepter. That's what we're looking for from them right now. Another part of the skull scepter and another chunk task checked off. I'm so tempted to just chill down here and let my guy just kill these things, but there's still so much to see here. But just the allure of free XP, and look at that, nature runes, and that too, iron ore, noted iron ore, one of the most common drops. I honestly think this might be my new best way to get ore. No banking required. They all just drop in noted form, and there's just so much to love here. Honestly, could not be more happy about the flesh crawler unlock. And we made it to the end of this floor. Get a little more GP and another emote. We're going to use that for one final task at the very end of all this. And we keep going down. Yet another floor here. Probably the least exciting of all the floors, I would say, in terms of what it means for our account. The main thing I am concerned with here are these guys, these Catablepons. Catablepons? For those wondering, these are a Greek mythical creature. Get specced, bro. Dude, having a real special attack weapon is such a crazy feeling for me. Actually so fun to be able to click this button and do a little double hit on these guys. Oh, beautiful. These things have some pretty solid rune drops, as well as that pure essence drop from before. Just like the Minotaurs, I guess something about having 2 horns makes you drop pure essence. Or I actually think pure essence is just something that a lot of the stuff in here drops. Killed almost 80 of these things, and we are still chasing a relatively common, like 1 in 30 drop for the next skull scepter piece. I don't really know why it's taking so long, but I'll get back to you when I'm done. Bro, what is going on? Nature Talisman is not supposed to be dropping right now. A Nature Talisman is 1 in 2,000. We're literally looking for like a 1 in 33, like a genuinely very common drop. There is simply no reason. That is absurd. And there we go. Finally, the top of the scepter is ours. We've got the runed scepter. Man, that is a really weird, I actually didn't know that made its own item called the runed scepter. I wonder how many players actually know that it's called that. That's kind of funny. But geez, that took so much longer than I was expecting. 134 kills, over 4 times the drop rate. That took me like an hour to get. Kind of insane. Although I do recognize the irony of complaining about an item taking 1 hour, given that I just spent like hundreds of hours for one item. But I guess I should just be thankful that we didn't go that dry on the visage. And of course, getting that top of the scepter is a chunk task complete. And here we go down into the final area of the Stronghold of Security, final floor with all the spooky enemies. Got shades, high-level zombies, and ghosts, skeletons. This is where it gets serious, okay? There are definitely a couple of drops I want to get down here, though. I'm gonna first try and knock out some of these shades. Let's see if I can find a little safe spot for this guy. Couple weird things about these guys that I'm noticing as I'm killing them. First of all, they give like no XP at all. I'm getting 1 ranged XP every hit, and 2, for some reason, they seem to increase your max hit on them. See, I'm hitting 15 with the steel arrow with no prayers or anything. So yeah, I'm not sure what's going on there. 16 max hit with the steel arrow. Yeah, there's something odd here. I can't find it on the wiki, so that's interesting. Okay, Editor Josh here to tell you that apparently Shades got updated to have -3 flat armor, which is a stat that just increases all damage taken by 3, which wasn't on the wiki when I recorded that clip, but has since been added in like the week or 2 that it's taken me to make this video. Very weird, but mystery solved. There we go, the first reason we killed these guys, the Shade Robe top. This thing is a little prayer upgrade here, +5 prayer over whatever my prayer gear before was. And the only other thing they drop is some prayer legs, so we're gonna hopefully get those quickly too. And there we go, easy as that, the shade robe bottom. We got both the top and the bottom now. Quick little grind there. I don't think those are really chunk tasks, they're just very minor prayer upgrades. Give you a nice solid +9 prayer, which might be useful for some prayer intensive grinds in the future. But let's get to the real meat of this floor. There's one enemy that I am genuinely so excited to find. There they are, I can see them. Oh yeah, this is it right here, baby. The Ankous, these weird glowing or like jelly skeleton guys. I don't really know what exactly they're supposed to be, but these guys, can't wait to show you what amazing drops they have. Just gonna kill a few and show you as they pop up. Continuing on the trend of noted ore drops, they drop some noted mithril ore. Would be more useful if it was more common, but definitely a solid drop. Always happy to stock up some more ore in the bank. Oh yes, dude, there it is. That is what I wanted to see. Weapon poison, dude. Oh yes. Permanently unlocked the ability to poison weapons. Something I was lamenting so much in the past. God, that is so cool. I could use this on my dragon spear right now and get a poisoned spear and it will apply poison forever. That is so sick. And I can come back and get that as a relatively common drop that only took 27 kills. That alone makes this chunk genuinely top tier. Weapon poison is such a huge unlock for the future of basically any combat grind on this account. Just passive damage, which is something super duper hard to come by in this game, especially on a one chunk account. And there we go. The final skull piece right there. The left half of the skull sitting on the ground. Look at that. We combine that. And now we have a pretty sick item. Look at that. Man, wait, that looks actually crazy. Never really realized how that thing looks. That is the skull scepter, and of course, a chunk task complete. Finally, for the first time, literally in this entire account's history, we have an item to actually teleport somewhere. This staff teleports us to Barbarian Village, to the Stronghold of Security. Finally, we actually have a real teleport on a weapon. And here we go. The final level here, we search this, and we get, of course, the fancy boots. Come on, let's be real. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Look at that. And let's get one more quick chunk task out of the way. We do all of the emotes, and that is a medium task complete in Varrock. And I just talked to this guy, and he imbued my skull scepter, which means it's a little bit more powerful, and it won't break when it runs out of charges, which means this is a permanent teleport item that I can recharge with more pieces of the scepter, which I could very easily get by killing flesh crawlers or really farm them up for minotaurs. It's super easy to get, and yeah, this is incredibly huge for this account. The only thing left to do, the final chunk task. Let's actually use that teleport. Here we go. Oh yeah. And that is a chunk task complete. That was a hard task in the Varrock diary. And I do believe that that is the entire chunk completed. The whole chunk completed in just one run through that dungeon. One day to complete a full chunk and get so many upgrades. It's always a fun feeling to have a bunch of new items to put into the bank. Yeah, man, look at that. Oh, that's actually so cool. So many new items put in the bank. It is the U Shortbow's day to say goodbye. Bye-bye, U Shortbow. Thank you for your help, but goodbye. And man, it feels so good that I could, at this very moment, just teleport right back there. It's so hard to even describe to you guys why that is so impactful feeling, but getting around on this account is such a pain. And to actually just have an item that can take me exactly where I want to go is genuinely incredible.
There is one small catch to the skull scepter, which is that I need to keep recharging it with more scepter pieces. Each one gives a few more teleports, so before I roll another new chunk, I think it would be wise to spend a little bit of time gathering some charges, and I think I know exactly where to do it. Hello, flesh crawlers. If you need me, I'll be AFKing here, grinding up my combat stats and stockpiling teleports in preparation for the future chunk roll. Just don't be surprised if I don't respond to you. I'm probably not at my keyboard.
This has been a crazy episode. The first chunk rolls since the death chunk did not disappoint. I increased the overall size of my chunk map by over 20% all in one shot, and we somehow managed to avoid any long grinds. I guess that's just my reward for having overcome the Draconic Visage grind. And maybe I was right not to be scared. Nothing is gonna be as bad as that, and we got through it in the end. And especially now that I have my dream item. The magic shortbow is finally in my hands, and I'm stronger than ever for any future combat grinds. Plus, with this new teleport, I'm the best equipped I've ever been to explore new areas. I can't wait to see where the next roll takes us, but that's gonna have to be for next time. So double check and make sure you're subscribed. I don't want you to miss it. Anyway, that's it for today's chunk rolling adventure, so until next time, bye-bye.